So what are trading card games like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic the Gathering anyway? Let's talk about that. Hey everyone, Befron here, and if you're watching this video, maybe you have a friend who plays Magic the Gathering. Or maybe you saw on a show like Pawn Stars how some Pokemon cards are selling for $500,000. Or maybe you saw on the news how Target even banned Pokemon cards for a while. So maybe you started to wonder, what's the big deal with all these trading card games with Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering? And so maybe you typed that into YouTube or typed that into Google, or a friend sent you this video just to learn a little bit more about what these are. Well, if that's the case, you're in the right place, because all we're going to talk about today is answering the question, what are trading card games? So we have these games called trading card games, or TCGs, sometimes also referred to as CCGs, collectible card games, but for the purpose of this video, they're pretty much the same thing. So those are the two ways that you can hear these referred to, and the one thing, of course, they have in common is the card game. So let's start and break that down. So what I have here in front of me is an example of the actual cards. So over here on the left, you can see a 6 of hearts from a standard deck of cards for comparison. Of course, this is a standard 52 card deck. These come in. And then over here on the right, you have Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic the Gathering cards, both the front and the back. Of course, the front is going to be different for all the thousands of different cards made of these card games over the years, but then the back is always going to look the same. And there are many, many different card games made. Digimon, MetaZoo, Flesh and Blood, really probably hundreds of card games, but these are what's known as the big three. The big three card games, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic the Gathering, by far take up the most money, player base, popularity, all that good stuff. There's a bunch of stats on this on the internet, but for now, I just need to know that these are the big three. They're the only ones that have been around for 2 decades now, in some cases almost 3, like Magic the Gathering, almost 30 years of history in these card games. So they've been around forever. Lots of people play them. There's always going to be somebody near you, around you, that will play these card games. So definitely these are the 3 that we'll focus on for the rest of the video. So let's move on to the next word in TCG or CCG, the game. So games, these are all card games. You play a game with all of these cards, just like you would play Go Fish or Texas Hold'em or poker with a deck of 52 cards. You can play a game with Pokemon cards. There's another game for Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and there's another game for Magic the Gathering cards. And again, these games are all separate games. There's a game for Pokemon, there's a game for Yu-Gi-Oh, and there's a game for Magic the Gathering. So these types of cards are not interchangeable, right? You can't play a game with both Magic the Gathering and Pokemon cards at the same time, right? These are all 3 separate games, made by 3 separate companies, maintained by, 3 sets of rules and all that. They're totally separate, just like Monopoly and Risk are different games. So all of these cards are game pieces, right? So, generally speaking, actually, even though the art can be very beautiful on some of these cards, the things that mean the most for the games are often some of the numbers written in the corners of the cards and the text written on the face of the card below the art. Right, so in Magic the Gathering, some important information is up here, describes what the card does down here, and that's what the game is based on. Again, same thing. All the important stuff of what the card does is written down here as far as for the game. So that's a little bit of an idea of how the games sort of work. Right, all these are game pieces in a game of cards that you play with, these established by the companies that make these cards. They establish these. And finally, the last aspect of TCG or CCG is the T, the trading, or C, collectible, in collectible card game or trading card game. So that first word tends to imply that these cards have value, right? That these are not just 52 pickup cards that, if I lose this deck tomorrow and I have to go to CVS and buy another deck of cards, nobody really cares, right? These are maybe less than $5 and you can buy a perfectly good deck of 52 cards. However, when you get to a lot of these cards, like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic the Gathering, these cards can hold a lot of value. So these examples I have here do not. These are not valuable cards, but they are cards that hold value, and that's why they're collectible, right? And that's why you have cards like this Charizard that maybe you saw on Pawn Stars selling for $500,000, right? That value can be there for any number of reasons. Maybe it's a particularly rare card. Maybe it's a particularly old card that's no longer manufactured anymore. There's a whole variety of reasons that we'll get into later why a card might be valuable, but ultimately that's what drives that word collectible or trading, right? You want to trade these cards, you want to collect these cards, and hopefully, you know, they can keep a lot of value and they don't lose that value over time. So now you know a little bit more about trading card games or collectible card games. Let's jump into our next topic, how to get the cards. So the best way to start collecting cards is go to your local game store or LGS, or local card store, LCS, or hobby store, sometimes they're called. There's all different names for these places, but generally any place that sells collectible hobby goods. So you can go to these stores. You can also go to big box retailers like in the US, Target and Walmart. I'm sure there's in other countries that I'm not aware of, but generally big box retailers also tend to have these cards stored by the register as you're checking out. So you go to these stores and you can find some products there for your favorite trading card game that you want to try. So you get what's called packs. So packs or booster packs are the most kind of like standard unit of how you buy cards at a store. So if you just kind of want to try one out, you don't know what you're kind of doing or looking at yet, just buy a booster pack and open it up and see what you get. So these booster packs are called that because they are a small little plastic packet of anywhere from 9 to about 15 cards, depending on which card game. That's a number kind of defined by the manufacturer, how many cards they put in that pack. They're random cards and they're organized by what's called sets. So each of these games, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, all the other ones, have these things called sets, which are a collection of about 100 to 200 cards that manufacturer published. And they published a group of these 1 to 200 cards every 3 to 4 months, and that is a set. And when you buy a booster pack or a pack, it is a collection of cards, random collection of cards from that set. So you'll get 9 to 15 cards from that set when you buy a booster pack. Then in 3 to 4 months, they'll publish a new set, and there'll be a new booster pack that goes along with that set. And when you buy that booster pack, you'll get 9 to 15 cards from that. So that's fundamentally what a booster pack is. So an example I have here is a booster pack from Pokemon. So you can see up here, it says Pokemon across the top. This even says trading card game, but it's obscured by this little figure that they have here on the front, this little piece of art. So that's the name of the card game. So an example might be, this would be Magic the Gathering if it were Magic the Gathering, or Yu-Gi-Oh if this were Yu-Gi-Oh, but this is a pack of Pokemon cards. So it says Pokemon across the top. And then down here, it says the name of the set, Sword and Shield Chilling Reign. So that's the name of the set. So Chilling Reign is a set of cards that's about a little over 200 cards, I think. And all the cards in this pack will be from that set, but they will be random cards from that set. So this says 10 additional game cards down here. So there's 10 cards from the Chilling Reign set that are randomly inserted into this pack. So they are random cards out of this, 100 to 200 cards, but they will definitely be from that 100 or 200 cards that's called Chilling Reign. So let's go ahead and open this up so you can kind of get a look-see of how these packs work. So these packs are all this sort of like plasticky, I don't even know what this material is called, but it's like a holographic silvery plastic material. Usually pretty easy to open, held together by little pieces of glue. You can open. Some people open these with scissors. Just got to be careful not to cut into the top of the cards. But usually you can pull it open with your hands, and you can see it opens up nicely like that. And the booster pack just becomes trash, unfortunately. And then you have your cards. So another feature of these packs is sometimes now, of course, this is new as of the last 5 or 10 years, but some of these card games now have sort of an online component where you can go online and redeem these cards online. You scan this QR code, enter this code, redeem that, and have some value for a version of the card game that's online. And so this, again, is a pack of 10 cards now, and we can go ahead and look through these slowly just to kind of get an idea, again, of what you're getting. The cards in this are arranged from, some are common, meaning that you'll find these more easily in packs. Some are uncommon, meaning that they're a little more rare, and then rare cards, there's only one rare per pack in many cases. So there's our rare card. In this card, we have an example of a holographic card, right? So the holographic refers to this kind of shiny. So if you look at this kind of comes through on camera, but if you see it in person, it's like very reflective. It has all this cool like special effects when I kind of move it through the light. So this is called a holographic card. Some people just say holo, foil, shiny card, right? So foil, shiny, holo, all kind of refer to this. And then you saw an example back here of what we call reverse holo, where kind of the outside, the non-art part of the card is holographic, but the actual art is not. In this case, the art is holographic, but outside of the art is not. So that is a holographic card, and then a few more of these cards. Again, just different game pieces. So there is a first pack. Hopefully, maybe this is the first pack of cards you've ever seen open of Pokemon cards. So that is what a booster pack is. Another way to get these cards is if you go to your local game store or go on some websites like eBay or TCG Player, you can actually get what we call singles. And singles are exactly what it sounds like, just single cards of a card you want. So maybe you really, really want this Pokemon called Ghastly. You really like Ghost. You want to buy this. So you could go on one of these websites or to your local game store and look for this. They usually have singles in the store that you can go and look at, and singles are exactly that, right? Just single cards that somebody else opened out of a pack, and they just keep them in a collection, and you ask them for the cards, and if they have them, they'll usually sell them. All the cards come at different prices, so it depends on what the demand is for the card, how popular the card is, but you can generally buy cards in single if you go on to these different websites or to your local game store. Big box retailers do not sell singles, right? They're only going to sell these sort of packages right from the manufacturer. Singles are something that's what we call the secondary market. So the primary market is buying packs and opening them. The secondary market is, okay, after people have opened the packs, then people sell single cards. So that's what singles are, and you can buy cards just like that. If maybe you don't like the random aspect of opening packs, you don't like the idea that there's only a 10% chance that you're actually going to open the card that you want, you just want to go to your local game store and you want to buy the card that you want, you go buy singles, and that's a perfectly good and fine way to buy cards too. You just buy the singles. And finally, if you don't want to buy packs or singles, you can also buy pre-constructed decks. So I'll flash some pictures up here on the screen, but for all the different card games, generally speaking, they sell these boxes of cards that come in a deck. And of course, just like in a game of 52 cards, poker, you have the deck, right? You have a deck of Magic the Gathering or a deck of Pokemon or a deck of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and that's the unit with which you play the game. And so these pre-constructed decks are cards that are tournament legal, so you can immediately take them right out of the box and start playing a game at your local card store or with your friends. So with that said, let's talk about the next chapter, how to play the game. And so next we're going to talk about how to play the game. So all these games are played with decks of cards, just like any other card game, just like any other 52 card, poker, Texas Hold'em, anything like that. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic the Gathering are played with decks of cards. However, unlike these other card games that you play with a standard 52 card deck, all the decks of these cards are different, and they're not just different, they are constructed by you, the player. So not only do you have to play the game, but there's also a very specific skill and craft, art and science that goes into actually building one of these decks. So all these card games have different rules for what kinds of cards must be in the deck or limits to certain cards in the deck. But generally speaking, these decks are all from anywhere from 40 to about 100 cards, depending on which game and which version of the game that you're playing. But that's kind of the rule of thumb, about 40 to 100 cards in a standard deck of cards for one of these card games. And again, these are all built by yourself, the player, and for a lot of people, they really enjoy that art of deck building. That's, building that deck, putting together that strategy is just as much fun as then playing that deck with a group of friends. But again, as I mentioned in the previous section, if you're new to the game and you don't want to learn all the rules to building a deck, a great way to just jump in and get started is go to your local card shop or big box retailer and pick up a pre-constructed deck and just play with that as is. It'll be good enough to get you started, have a little fun, and see if you like the game and you want to invest more. So once you have your deck of cards, there's a few different ways to play. There's what's known as casual play or kitchen table play, kitchen table Pokemon, kitchen table Yu-Gi-Oh, kitchen table Magic the Gathering, and that's exactly what it sounds like, right? It's casual. It's played at your kitchen table with a few of your friends. You kind of get together, maybe have a little food together, and you just play the game casually. You know, you maybe know most of the rules, but sometimes you have to make up rules where you don't know, and you know, it's casual. It doesn't really matter. It's just fun. So once you're ready to move on from casual, there is competitive play. And competitive play is, as it sounds, for those of you who are maybe a little more competitive and in it to win it, you can really test your skills and see how good you are when you are playing against a bunch of people maybe you don't know anymore, maybe not just your immediate group of friends, but a wider group of people in the community playing this game. See how good your skills are against these people. And the way this is centered is really around your local card store. So this is not something that Target or Walmart are going to have access to, right, just because they sell cards, right? This is something you have to go to a place like your local hobby shop, card store, game store, and they will hold tournaments specifically for these games. So, you know, go into Google Maps, type in, you know, Magic the Gathering tournaments, and probably something will come up and you'll be able to go there. Again, as I mentioned, these local card stores, local game stores, they sell products, so they'll sell singles and booster packs and decks and all that good stuff. But if you ask them, they'll probably tell you about their tournament schedule. And generally speaking, all these stores will hold weekly tournaments for each of the major card games. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, all of these will have weekly card game tournaments that they will host. Generally speaking, not a hard and fast rule. All of these stores are pretty independent and small businesses, so they can all do their own thing, but generally speaking, they'll all hold weekly tournaments for these games. They'll also hold tournaments, of course, for other games that we've talked about, like Digimon, MetaZoo, Flesh and Blood. So there's all these other games, but again, the big three, most places will have tournaments for those. So you go there, they'll give you a little bit of information about the tournament, and then you can sign up. Generally speaking, tournaments are about $5 to enter, so they're not hugely expensive. Everybody generally walks away with something, maybe like a special promotional card that says you entered a tournament that you can only get by entering tournament, maybe a pack or two of whatever game you're playing. And then, of course, if you do well in the tournament, if you win the tournament, then you get a lot more stuff. You can get many packs, you know, maybe $20 or $30 worth of packs that you can get for winning this tournament. So, you know, if you are really good at the game, it can really pay off, but regardless, it's a good time and it's a good way to test your skills. Generally, these tournaments are anywhere from about 15 to 30 people. So that's kind of the order of people that you'll expect to see there. And that's, you know, you'll play against all of them. There's all different ways to organize a tournament to kind of play people against each other, but all said and done, it'll probably take about 3 to 4 hours to play tournaments. You'll probably play about 4 or 5 different people. And then they rank everybody based on those games, and that's how the outcome of the tournament is decided. Now, of course, this is your local tournament in your local game store, and often all of these games have their own online systems that track how often you attend these events. So, you know, if you're going to events week after week, maybe you have a few game stores around you and you're going to all of them and playing multiple times a week and you're winning a lot, that'll qualify you for higher tier events. So after the local events, there's also regional events. So regional events are what they sound, right? It's not just your local game store down on Main Street. Regional events are more official tournaments, often hosted directly by these companies. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering. It's not sponsored by a local card shop. It's sponsored by one of these main companies. It's a regional event, and that's what it sounds like. So everybody, you know, from your area, Southern California, Central Jersey, you know, from the greater Boston area, right, is all going to come to a central location, usually like an event space. So think wherever you have kind of large events in your area. And, you know, those could be hundreds and hundreds of people. That's what a regional tournament is. So everybody kind of comes and converges on this one space and plays probably about 8 games. It could be more, could be less, but it's going to be a lot more than your locals because there's a lot more people to judge against. So again, much larger. And then, of course, you know, kind of above that, above locals, above regionals, then there's nationals and, of course, worlds. So, you know, then you're getting onto the super competitive. If you're like the best person in your country, the best person in the world, right? These events get bigger and bigger and shinier and fancier, and some people are even paid to play, right? So just like athletics has, you know, players that are paid to play their game, there are also players who are paid to play these card games. Right now, of course, they are not anywhere near like, an NBA contract making many millions of dollars, but they're making maybe a livable wage playing this game. They're sponsored, they have contracts that they are going to shout out to certain vendors and things like that, and they can make a decent living playing a card game. Right, so, and that's of course good for the hobby, right? Having these players that are famous and everybody looks up to them. There's that sort of popularity thing that same reason that you have high profile players in athletics, you have the same thing in trading card games. So that's a little bit about the culture around competition. And again, really recommend you just go try one out. So that's about all I'm going to say about how to play the games, as in how to learn or engage in the community to play the games. Of course, I'm not going to go into detail here about how to play each of the individual games, like the rules and things like that, as those can be a little bit complicated and they deserve their own video. I'm working on my own gameplay series, but there's also plenty of other content online, on YouTube, on all of these card games websites where you can go and learn how to play the game. So, if you want to learn one of these specific games, go try one of those and let me know what you think. Anyway, my name is Befron, and that's about all we have today for an introduction to trading card games. I hope you really found this useful, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below, and I'll get to that right away. Also, if you have other content ideas that you'd like to see, if you have other questions, I can make other videos about this. And you can also check out my other videos. If you're new to this kind of space and you want to learn more, definitely check out my other videos. I have other pack openings, playthroughs, kind of product reviews around some of the different products that are in these trading card games. So definitely check that out if you think you are interested, if you're inspired to learn more. Anyway, hope to see you next time, and thanks for watching.